Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well, hope you're all doing great, that you're all absolutely fantastic, and that you're having a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I make videos every day, every 24 hours. And have been doing so for almost a decade. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. You know the deal. We are standing on one side of the plate at the moment. For whatever reason, everyone is incredibly optimistic about the cryptocurrency market. And I'll take some of that back. They should be. Everyone should be. We are in an unprecedented territory where we have governments buying Bitcoin, we have central banks buying Bitcoin, we have governments mining cryptocurrencies and getting into the space and making rules and regulations that will work out in our favor in the future. And yet, many people seem to just not care. This was obviously going to be incredibly popular news. We are receiving a large amount of price predictions, as always, within the cryptocurrency space. And I'll even say they don't even seem crazy. That's what I think a lot of the news is kind of floating around right now. This is a personal thing. I think a lot of people are used to like really extravagant numbers that even when we get like normal numbers, everyone's like, oh yeah, okay, I guess that kind of, yeah, okay, cool, that makes sense. Apparently, and I mean, I will preface that by saying XRP has already done this twice. XRP could move up to $12.50 a coin and dethrone Ethereum's market cap by 2028. This is according to a forecast from Standard Chartered. Basically the bank who we've been hearing about. They've been in the space for a couple of years now, giving price predictions and like analyzing a larger part of the cryptocurrency market. And if you've missed it at all, I'm not sure how you did it. Kudos to you. Whatever the reason might be, Ethereum's price will not react properly to anything that's going on. Ethereum is still the most used blockchain that we have on the planet. However, optimism for Ethereum has dwindled. I still think it's a magic trick. I'm going to stand by that. I think a lot of what we're witnessing right now is purposefully being done by institutions to make sure that to the everyday man, that cryptocurrency just doesn't kind of stand out to them anymore as something, sparkly or twinkly or something that could make them a lot of money. XRP has passed Ethereum multiple times before in the past. However, we're getting a lot of sentiment shift, especially after all the news from the lawsuits and the stuff from the SEC and Ripple going public. And Ethereum constantly announcing that they're going to have an upgrade, an update, and then it takes a month longer, then it takes a month longer, then it takes a month longer, and the transaction fees and the speed of the blockchain, and they want to do this and this. The UK banking giant Standard Chartered isn't exactly known for hype. But this time, they've gone all in. They said, and I do quote, by the end of 2028, we see XRP's market cap overtaking Ethereum's. Basically meaning that they would both rise in tandem. They'd move up in price together. But at some point, XRP is going to once again eclipse Ethereum. And I say this as someone who has both coins. There seems to be some kind of confusion, and it's mainly from people who haven't been here with me as long as I've been doing this channel. I own both of these coins. It's not for me, it's never, I've had to learn multiple times, even if I don't care for a project, but I see that they're actually doing something, then I have to invest in it. Neither one of these coins, like I know that both of these coins are like grade A, thumbs up kind of things, but you also have to be completely realistic, which I think is a problem for a significant portion of people in the cryptocurrency space. People get into crypto with the idea of becoming rich very fast. Got it. The problem is you can't get rich very fast unless you're running a scam within the space. That's kind of just the way that it actually works out. So when it comes to like holding on for a long time and longevity and making money in this market, you have to find the proper coins. A lot of people get heavily disillusioned when they enter the space and they buy cupcake coin and hot dog buns and all these other kinds of things, and they don't move up or actually do what these other coins are doing. These are two very strong coins. It's the most used blockchain on the planet and one of the richest companies in the cryptocurrency space who's standing behind XRP. The expanse of Ripple, especially as they begin to expand into the American market, is going to be absolutely spectacular. This won't be like oh, we tried. No, they've done well everywhere, and they also essentially have a place in the White House, etc., etc., etc. This doesn't seem unrealistic. I would dare say out loud, the most unrealistic part of this is probably the price. You'll see what they're basing a lot of this on, and I think they're undervaluing it, both coins, relatively slightly, but I think that's because of the now general uncertainty with all world markets. They said by the end of 2028, we see XRP's market cap overtaking Ethereum's. This was said by Jeffrey Kendrick, the bank's head of FX and digital asset research. He's not just guessing. This is part of a full-on roadmap that puts XRP at $5.50 by the end of this year, then climbing each year until it hits $12.50. You'll see a little bit more, and I say this from a personal perspective. I think XRP is going to $10 this year, the same exact way that I think Bitcoin is going to surpass $250,000. I'm not talking about a $300, $900 million Bitcoin, but I still hold it in myself that we are going to have like a good end to this year unless we get more tariffs on penguins or whatever the heck is currently going on. The cryptocurrency market, I think, is going to reverse. I think things will get a lot better than the current market space that we're in. But I think if everything actually ends up happening as I think it's going to, we're probably going to see a $7, $8, $9, $10 XRP this year. Just completely logical. Kendrick thinks a big part of the rally will come from an XRP ETF. Yes, which he expects to land at least by Q3 of 2025. We are currently in Q2. If you missed it, the last couple of videos, the next couple of weeks should be a little crazy because the SEC in May and in June are meant to announce the yes or no's for the multitude of ETFs that were filed back in November and December of last year. A huge portion of them are XRP ETFs. There's stuff from BlackRock. There's stuff from Grayscale. I think June 1st, I think that's correct. It was meant to be the time frame for the SEC to also give the yay or the nays for the conversion of the Ethereum ETFs into staking. I think a lot of people aren't really looking at how big that's going to be and how that's going to turn tables for Ethereum's price. And I believe that a large portion of the suppression in price that we're seeing right now is coming from the institutions who are making sure that they can buy at lower prices. If we're talking realistic, with the multitude of XRP ETFs that have been filed, if we get half of them, if we get 6, 7, 8, 9 XRP ETFs, I would dare say it is probably fairly certain that we're going to, and I say, listen, that we would go over $3.50, that we'd hit $4. I think I would have a huge problem with the cryptocurrency space. And I mean just logic in general as a thing. If we got multiple even one XRP ETFs, we're also getting rumors that BlackRock is looking to file an XRP ETF as well. If all that happened and we just got to $5.50, I think people underestimate exactly how many people really love this coin. The momentum that we've had since 2017, when it almost hit $4. Since then, they've partnered with a dozen central... I'm not going to go over the whole list again. You know it. 550, I think, is hyper conservative, but it's also the number that we see a lot of people throwing around right now. Right. According to finance magnates, he's banking on clearer regulatory frameworks and the growing push to tokenize real-world assets, which we've also gone over as well. I'll briefly touch on it. Ripple they've been acquiring a number of companies, but one made headlines, especially with all the news about tokenization. I don't know why this year is the tokenization year, but Ethereum and XRP and Ethereum keep popping up in the conversations for the idea of tokenization. Basically, in the future, starting now, but in the future, in the next 10 years, it's expected to be a $20 trillion market where basically people are digitizing their car titles and their homes and everything you can think of on top of blockchains. And right now, the ones who keep, at least in the news that we are seeing, keep getting into the news are XRP and Ethereum. There's some news a month ago about Avalanche, and sometimes you'll maybe see something about HBAR, Hedera, Hashgraph. But even then, as I was telling one of my friends, like, you mainly see this kind of news popping up over and over about these specific blockchains. If we get a whole bunch of tokenization happening this year, we get Ripple going public this year, stablecoin has launched, more and more, they're going to be putting it onto larger exchanges. What was the other thing? How could I forget? The United States buying up XRP and then 6 XRP ETFs. If we just made it to 550, I won't lie with you. I think I'd probably need a break from crypto. And that's a complete true statement. Because at that point, I would feel a little weird being in this market because nothing would actually make a lot of sense. I'm already at the point now when I look at crypto prices, I'm like, it doesn't make sense that we're this low. You cannot have this much going on. And retail's just completely gone. Institutions are buying up all the coins, but once again, gigantic magic trick. He also made it clear that this isn't just about speculation. He said XRP's blockchain is a payments chain, he said, referring to the asset's original purpose of settling cross-border transactions quickly and cheaply. Yeah, a lot of people keep forgetting about that part. The original point of XRP was basically to move money around for cross-border transactions. The people from Ripple came forward and said, Bitcoin is meant for whatever, sending money back and forth, but Bitcoin has slow transactions. So they said, okay, let's do two things. Let's make sure that XRP is for the public, but also for institutions and banks. If banks are going to eventually get into the space, let's start working with them now as opposed to them making their own coins so that when they do stuff, they can use XRP or use the XRP blockchain. And all of this is still coming to fruition. That might sound like old news to crypto veterans. There we go. But in a world where tokens are being squeezed by regulation, XRP's legal clarity post-win over the SEC is now a major advantage. Meanwhile, some market analysts are pushing price targets even further. According to the Crypto Basic, XRP could hit $15 if institutional inflows pour into post-ETF approval. One analyst used market cap multipliers to explain how ETFs could send XRP flying. I think 15 seems more believable. My back is terrible. I'm like sitting here hunched over. I think 15 is more believable, but a lot of times I think between 7 to 10 is something that we can actually agree on and kind of see that it's going to happen. XRP's price just doubling from its previous all-time high is like, okay, thumbs up. A $12 XRP seems completely believable, as does 15. I think $5.50 is like, they're maybe trying not to make too many waves and simply state out loud $30, $40, $50, $60 XRP, like that kind of thing. But there's a lot of XRP news going around. There's a lot of still discussion between the SEC Ripple pause thing that's going on right now for whatever reason. All the analysts, as you've been seeing over the course of the last couple of weeks, are anticipating not only higher prices, but they're talking about Bitcoin going a lot higher by summer. We just recently had Charles Hoskinson talk about a $250,000 Bitcoin this year. We have people still discussing a $5,000 to $7,000 Ether this year as well, which also doesn't make a lot of sense, as $4,800 was the previous all-time high. The amount of coins and coin burn and institutions using it, and also we are also on the cusp of multiple more Ethereum ETFs launching, which is, it doesn't make any sense, dude. If we hit 4,800 years ago, and now we have multiple ETFs and the coin burn is crazy and the amount of Ether locked up inside of it, we should at least be at $7,000 right now. But I digress, because my anger will begin to grow as nothing seemingly is making sense right now. That's the XRP will overtake Ethereum. This was said by Standard Chartered. I mean, it makes complete sense. If Ethereum in the next 4 years manages to have 1,000 to 3,000 transactions per second, I'll go okay. But as of right now, not much is really changing except for stuff like behind the scenes on the blockchain, and they want more private transactions, and they want Merkle trees and all these, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, if you focus on that, other people will focus on other blockchains. That's the SEC news. I was looking right here. That's the XRP news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in the news, a new bill presented in North Carolina aims to recognize cryptocurrencies as an official payment method. If this is the article that I think that it is, it's going to start out okay and then turn a little bit ridiculous. It's not bad, but it's misleading in character. Named HB 920, the North Carolinian bill seeks to promote the use of cryptocurrencies for tax payments and economic transactions. First, interesting point. A lot of other countries and states started doing this a number of years ago. North Carolina is not the first one. And it basically started as like a very clever way for countries to accumulate more crypto. They basically announced that if you wanted to pay your taxes, any kind of municipal thing that you had to do, any kind of a council tax or whatever the case might have been, you can do it in crypto. And basically, I remember saying years ago, I was like, no, just pay in cash. If the US dollar is going to continue to be devalued and these cryptocurrency values are going to go up, at some point, you would realize that you paid them millions of dollars in taxes. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's a way that now states are trying to get people to use crypto under the guise of like, oh no, we're allowing you to have more freedom, and it's like, no, I'll just keep paying in the devaluing US dollar, because a lot of people are going to start to pay their taxes and other fees and stuff like that in crypto and realize that they became the pizza guy. It acknowledges cryptocurrencies as legally valid as a means of exchange, preventing these types of transactions from being deemed invalid. Oh yeah, I remember this one. I know exactly where this is going. This comes at a time, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. Scrolling down, you'll see the interesting part. Drafted by State Representative Neil Jackson, Yada yada. HB 920 proposes that North Carolina accept crypto. It says over and over, recognize cryptocurrencies, accept cryptocurrencies, interest in cryptocurrencies, acknowledge cryptocurrencies. Remember the S. As a legitimate payment method. According to the proposal, the mere fact that the transaction is considered cryptocurrency, yada, 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 so on and so forth, scrolling on down. However, my friends, the bill specifies that only cryptocurrencies meeting a certain criteria will be included. Do you know where this is going? In order to use a cryptocurrency as a valid means of payment within North Carolina, the cryptocurrency must have a market cap of at least $750 billion US. In order for you to be able to use a crypto in North Carolina, it has to have at least a $750 billion market cap. Can you guess which coin has over a $750 billion market cap? There's only one. The other ones don't even come close. We would need Ethereum to do a 7x in price to meet that criteria. North Carolina, as far as I remember, aren't they also one of the states who's looking to acquire Bitcoin? Doesn't this seem like such a weird proposal that they're saying you can pay for your taxes now in North Carolina, but you can only do it with the one coin that they're also trying to buy? That's super weird, right? And have at least a daily transaction volume of 10 billion US dollars. These criteria aim to ensure that essential economic requirements such as market depth and liquidity are met. I'm sure. Yeah, cool. Another state has popped up. This one a little bit more different. I mean, all the states, all of them right now, I have many question marks in my head because I don't really understand exactly what's happening. If you missed any of it, apparently now, excluding Oklahoma, who has said nay, apparently 26 states right now are trying to get some kind of a cryptocurrency or a Bitcoin bill, with most of the states filing an identical proposal like a couple of days after. So like someone files a bill, and then a couple of days later, someone files an identical bill. And then a couple of days later, two other people change the literally like a word in the proposal from like Bitcoin to crypto. And then they each make a filing. And I don't really understand why anybody would do that. So cool. That's the North Carolina news. Also, loosely tying into it, the Illinois Senate, by a vote of 39 to 17, passed a regulatory bill aimed at curbing cryptocurrency fraud and protecting investors from deceptive practices, including rug pulls and misleading fee structures. I know this sounds weird. It kind of definitely is. A lot of this has to do with places don't have laws yet that say that doing bad things in crypto is illegal. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird. So remember how this was last year? We had about 5 different states, I don't remember the names, who all announced that they were creating some kind of cryptocurrency law initiative thing that would basically make it illegal for someone to steal crypto from you. And you would sit there and go, that doesn't make any sense. It should be illegal, but it wasn't on the law books and nothing for crypto was there. It's literally just numbers on a screen. So for them, it held no weight. So now we're seeing, and it's weird, I know. So now we're seeing initiatives being put forth that basically say like, hey, if you're doing stuff with crypto, you can't cheat people. You can't rug pull them and you can't lie to them when it comes to them, how much money they would possibly make. On the 10th of April, the chamber passed Senate Bill 1797, also known as the Digital Assets and Consumer Protection Act, which Senator Mark Walker introduced in February. Jeez Louise, takes forever. The bill gives the Illinois Department of Financial and Professionalism Regulation. What? That's the name of a... The Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation Authority. Why these long names? To oversee digital asset business activity within the state under the legislation. Any entity engaging in digital asset business within Illinois residents, what? Must be registered with the state's financial regulator. The bill also requires crypto service providers to offer advanced full disclosure of user fees and charges. Do you remember this? The world is a fascinating place. 2 weeks ago, the European Union, I believe it was the entirety of the EU, I think it was, mandated that basically if you are a cryptocurrency company, you have to have the money that you claim to have. If you weren't here for that video, people were writing articles as if that was a negative thing. They were like, the EU's so anti-crypto, and it's like, what? The idea basically being, let's say there's a cryptocurrency exchange called Europa, I don't know, and they decide, they're open for business, and they tell people of all the Bitcoin that's been deposited on this new exchange, they have 30,000 Bitcoin. For some reason, it goes belly up. We don't know why. Things end up wrong, and they have to pay the people back. The idea would be is that A, you actually have to have those 30,000 Bitcoin on your exchange, like like a bank account. Do you actually have the money there? The secondary part is that if you go belly up, all the money that you claimed to have, you have to have, and you also have to have it backed with euros. So that you, instead of you losing your money or having another Mt. Gox situation, you would get your money back, no questions asked. That's part of the other significant thing that no one is talking about and people refuse to talk about with FTX. These people have 110% of their money. They were never bankrupt, as I said from the very beginning. But people took that as a negative thing, that it would stop innovation or people being able to open up businesses. And it's like, that's a good thing. We don't need 30,000 cryptocurrency businesses. We need like 5 or 6 that are actually legitimate, that are regulated. So in the case of some type of fraud or rug pull or whatever, that people get their money back. Everyone has fun in markets when it looks like they're making $1 billion. Do you remember that thing? Oh my gosh. This was years ago. These things still exist, but I remember this one. There was a video on YouTube, it was like a little mini documentary expose kind of thing. And they were talking to people who had put their money into some scheme, apparently, within the UK. It was worldwide, but they were talking to people from the UK because I think it originated from there. They were talking to this one woman because she had, I think her father had passed and had left her, I believe, £50,000. I think that's what it was, somewhere around there. She was looking for a way to invest it. She was like, I want to make him proud. What do I do with this money? This was years ago, guys. And she found this website that claimed to have found the cryptocurrency of the future. They had their own blockchain, their own this. They had 9,000 transactions per second. You name it. It was a golden diamond sitting on her kitchen table. She was like, I need to get into this. She sent them, I think, £5,000, and then you could see how much, how much you had in the thing on their website. So she said she would wake up and it said 5,550. She was like, whoa. She woke up the next day, it said 6,200. She was like, wait, I got to put more money into this. She put 10,000 more into it. And one day it said 22,000. She was like, I'm making so much money. She told her brothers, she told her friends, she invited everyone over to come to the house. You can see exactly where this is going. Everyone she knew got into this. Everyone's throwing $10, $15, $20, $30,000 into it. Their literal life savings into it. She said at some point she was like, I think it said over $100,000. She was like, okay, I'm going to take out the original 50,000 and I'm going to put that down on a house. She tried to take it out. It said error. Tried to take the money out, error. She was like, okay, I'll try again tomorrow. Tried to take the money out, error. So she emailed them and said, hey guys, trying to take my money out, blah, 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 blah. And they said, oh, it's no problem. Some stuff on our back end. We're trying to make it work. Don't even worry. Your thing should be processed within the next day or two. She said, cool. The next day or two, she went to her bank account. The money wasn't there. She went back and it showed that it was like $127,000. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to try and take out 50 to 70,000. She emailed them and one of them said, yeah, we're currently working on our blockchain. And she said, what? They said, yeah, like we're trying to get our blockchain up and running. And she said, no, you already have a blockchain. Yeah, technically we have a name for it, but we don't have the blockchain up and running. So at this point, if I remember correctly, she was going onto YouTube and like trying to like convince other people that this was totally legit. She was showing how much money she had. Guys, don't be worried. They're working on their blockchain. And then another YouTuber contacted her and was like, yeah, this is a scam. And she was like, no, it's not a scam. And this went on for like a good month. At some point, she had several $100,000 that she wasn't able to take out. And somebody from the company or whatever the case might have been actually came forward. And they said, yeah, there is no blockchain. So she was like, what do you mean? Do you know what these people said? They said they only had, and I say only this way, around several thousand people who had fallen for the scam. 10, 15,000 people who had fallen for the scam. And somebody went into the office every single day and they would write on the numbers for the actual chain and the coin or whatever. All right, plus 3% value so that people could see that their numbers were going up. The guy literally said if someone had a balance of $15,000, he would input 2.5% and they would see the value of it go up so that they would be content. And the more people kept on throwing money into it. It was a literal scam. The problem is that there were no laws against this. So people were technically stealing from people and it was illegal, but nothing on the books actually said you can't do this with crypto or make a fake blockchain. So this is why we're seeing all of these laws and rules popping up. And I know, once again, it's not the most exciting thing, but you should actually be happy when things like this end up getting passed. It's like years ago in China, they were like, people were like, groundbreaking, amazing. And I was like, no, it's just logic. Some guy in China was robbed and how it happened. And this guy took his Bitcoin and then they went to court and the guy was like, there's no law against this. There was nothing on the books that said like I couldn't take his digital numbers on a screen. Luckily, the court was like, you're crazy. Give the money back to the guy. But that started like the actual precedence for it. So yeah, it's similar to what I was telling you about the SEC the other day. The SEC was saying the reason why they said, but it also makes sense, why they didn't give proper crypto regulation over multiple years is because if they told you that you needed this, and this to be considered decentralized, then the SEC would consider you a commodity. All you needed to have in the basket was A, B, and C. But then you can add whatever you want. It could be the biggest scam in the universe. And you can go, no, but we included those things in our framework. Yeah, so cool. I hope we get more of these. I hope it doesn't take another 10 years to have proper cryptocurrency regulation of some sort. But it is nice to see things moving in that direction. I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. Hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves. Hope you all are having nice days. I have to sneeze. Oh gosh, please go away. Oh gosh. It's definitely that time of year, which is crazy. I never had allergies before, but as the years roll on by, I'm like, oh gosh. Like as I see the pollen on the street, it's not too nice. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.